Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another Destiny video. Now in this video, I want to speak to you more about the Trials of Osiris. Now I already have a breakdown on the channel which explains all the intricacies of the mode, how it works, all the kind of stuff you need to know like frequency, sort of rewards and all that stuff like that. So if there's anything you want to know, then make sure you check it out on the channel, and I'll also leave a link to it in the description box down below. But in this video, I want to speak to you slightly more sort of like casually and just kind of like talk off the top of my head about like my thoughts and feelings about Trials of Osiris, plus kind of, a few of the different tactics that we were thinking about when we were playing it, and just some sort of general stuff as well. So I figured, what I'll do, whereas the last video I kind of cut up the footage quite heavily to illustrate my points, this one I'm just going to let the match run from start to finish in the background, uninterrupted, unedited, and that way I can kind of talk over it and you can actually see how an entire game plays out. Now in this footage here, the one that you're seeing, I actually chose this game specifically because the very first game we played, we won that one, and no disrespect to people we were playing against, but it wasn't too much of a challenge. We won it 5 points to 0, we didn't really go down much at all, and it was just like a super quick round. This match, however, this was the closest one we had. It was right down to the final game. In order to win in the Trials of Osiris, you need to get 5 points. At the end of this, each of the teams was on 4 points, so it was all down to the match point, and that is why I want to show you this one, because this was such a close match and we really were sitting on the edge of our seats, and it was just so good, and this is like a great example of the kind of moments you can get out of the Trials of Osiris. Now just before I get into the meat of the video, let me just kind of give you a quick recap, just in case you haven't seen the other video, on what Trials of Osiris is. So Trials of Osiris is a 3v3 elimination mode. Not the 3v3 skirmish that people previously thought, but instead a 3v3 elimination mode, which works like this. It's the first team to 5 points, and in order to earn a point, you simply need to wipe out the enemy team. This mode has no respawns, so if you go down, the only way you can get back up is if your teammate revives you. Meaning, if you're looking for a comparison from say like another game, it's kind of like Search and Destroy or those other kind of elimination rounds. Either way, throughout the game, once one team has earned 3 points, the next round is always a heavy ammo round. Meaning, at the start of the game, you need to worry about focusing on that, and I'll speak about that in a minute, but then after that, it then returns to regular format, at which point you rely on the guns that you started with. Now in this particular footage, the team that I was on, the aptly named International House of Peasants, was comprised of More Console, My Name is Bife, and myself. And we were up against DPJ, EasyNow1337, and Willis Gaming. So, what do you need to know? Well, first up, tactics. So, yes, you can play this game however you want. You could go in with 3 Hunters, you could go in with 3 Titans, and you could go in with 3 Warlocks. Our team setup was 2 Hunters and 1 Warlock. Not specifically because we planned it that way, that's just how it was. However, it did work out quite well. I would say, probably going forward, an ideal setup would be one of each team, simply because if you have a Sunsinger Warlock, then the self-res does mean you can effectively get a respawn. Then if you have a Hunter and you have them as a Gunslinger, when it does get to the point where they have a super, then that is an accurate, very long-range super, which does have the potential to take out 3 people with 3 different shots. As for the Titan, you can kind of play it both ways. Defender is extremely good because when you down someone on the enemy team, one tactic you are definitely going to want to use in the Trials of Osiris, and I know when I say this people are going to say, why are you camping? But camping dead bodies is a tactic. When you think that in the Trials of Osiris, if you take down a member of the enemy team, and the only way they can get back up is if their teammates revive them, then sitting on that body is a surefire way to either make sure the enemy will come towards you, or to stop them from reviving their teammate. So if you're a Defender Titan and you dropped a bubble on or around the dead body, it means you can sit there and wait for the enemies to come to you without having to worry about them sniping you from afar. Alternatively, and something I think we probably will see quite a lot of, I would imagine you'll have some teams running with triple Warlock, simply because if you have 3 people, all of whom are running Sunsinger, all of whom can revive themselves, that could be a pretty lethal combination. So that is something you do need to watch out for and something you do need to anticipate. Personally, being a Hunter myself and having friends who have all the different classes, I'm always going to try and go for a triple class spread, just because I think it will give us the best coverage of all the bases. Now let's talk a bit about supers. So supers are an interesting one. See, Trials of Osiris is comprised of a number of short rounds. Each round is 2 minutes. So based on the time that it takes you to kill the enemy, or the enemy team, plus based on the round timer, means that invariably the first time you see a super will probably be around 3 or 4. Meaning that when you do get supers, it will drastically change, just like when heavy ammo drops, the way you play that round. And there are different ways you can think about it. See, if you get a super, yes, you could do the old rush tactic where the second the round spawns, you could, for example on Burning Shrine, you could run outside, you could activate as a gunslinger and try and pop everyone off from a distance. That is a tactic, and if it works, it would be a surefire win and a quick round. Alternatively, you can use it tactically to protect the heavy ammo. As you know, heavy ammo can change the tide in battle, meaning that when the heavy ammo round begins, there are 2 boxes. Typically one team will go to one team will go to the other. If, however, you have super, you could send your teammates to one while you go to the other and you try and take out the enemies. If they all happen to group up at one heavy ammo box, it could be a complete team wipe in one. Alternatively, if they play it safe or they run away, then it means you have complete control over heavy ammo, which would also result in a quick win. However, if you think of it in a different way, this is how I played it. In one of the rounds that I played, what I did was I got my super around round 3. The next round happened to be the round when the heavy ammo dropped. Instead of using my super to control it, instead we made a play for the heavy ammo. We then got the heavy ammo and used that to win that round, and I then took my super into the following round, which then means for 2 rounds I effectively have heavy weaponry. I know one of them's a super, but you know what I mean. The idea is that one round you've got machine guns and rocket launchers, the second one you have supers. That then means for 2 rounds the enemies have to be especially careful with what they're doing. And while on the topic of heavy artillery and things, when you go into the Trials of Osiris, I would highly recommend using a rocket launcher. See, if you go and take in a machine gun, yes, it does obviously go a little bit further, and you can get a lot more out of it, but do bear in mind, in Trials of Osiris, once you finish that round, your heavy ammo is gone. So there's no point having 2 clips worth of machine gun bullets if you're not going to be able to take it with you. Rocket launchers are a far more guaranteed kill. If you get to a position where you shoot someone with a few machine gun bullets and they just manage to sneak around the corner, then they've survived. If you shoot at them with a rocket, chances are they're not going to win. So the point is, when it comes to Trials of Osiris, really do think about your loadouts, and I would definitely recommend rocket launchers as your heavy option. As for secondaries, I personally went for snipers. Now I appreciate the Burning Shrine is not necessarily an extremely long range map, but at the same time you don't want to be rushing in. You don't want to rush in with a shotgun, because if a team is playing together, then they're most likely going to roll around together. And if they see you coming, yeah, you might get one of them, but you're also going to go down. And that is not a sensible way to play. So I opted for the sniper because if you can get the enemy outside, then you can snipe them down on the sort of beachy area, and plus there is a long sight line through the central tunnel, so there are a few different scenarios where snipers would actually be extremely useful. Also, think about switching up your grenades. This is a tip I got from Bife, but he actually recommended that as a hunter I swap from my trip mine grenades to my swarm grenades, but not for damage, more so for information. See, in the Burning Shrine, one of the tactics we played is that we ran straight through the middle and I threw the swarm grenades at the central door. The good thing about swarm grenades is they sit there for a bit, so if an enemy is trying to make a play for that, then I will know instantly if my swarm grenades hit them and therefore where the enemy is moving. That way you have something on top of your radar. That also applies to Thorn as well. Thorn is a great gun, not just because it's a right pain in the backside and it helps poison people and control them, but also because if you tag someone, then you can see the damage numbers through walls. Meaning if you shoot someone and they do make a getaway, you can generally get an idea of where they're running. But I think the most important thing at all times to bear in mind is that you must stick together. This is not a mode where you want to Rambo and run off. Yes, you might get lucky if you have a super, but for the most part, if you're playing against a team that are also working together, then it's not going to work in your favour. So stick together, communicate, and you should come out on top. It's an extremely fun mode. I honestly had so much fun. This is probably now my new favourite Crucible mode. You get so many of these tense moments. The fact that all the rounds are so short, but every single time, every life matters, every shot counts. You are constantly on the edge of your seat. So it creates a really awesome, hectic environment, and it's finally something super high level that the Crucible players can enjoy. I know up until now that people that like Crucible more so than PvE have always complained that they haven't really had a true kind of end game activity. Iron Banner, to a certain extent, allows them to do what they want, but this, allowing them to play Trials of Osiris, get some end game gear from it, and all that good stuff, this really is a home for you. And that, my friends, is pretty much all I have to say. There's obviously a lot more to it, and once the DLC officially comes out, I'll do some more videos speaking slightly more about tactics, but for the time being, I just wanted to kind of throw out some thoughts and just kind of chat about it while you can kind of see the game. So hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you enjoyed the gameplay, hopefully you enjoyed what I had to say. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the new Trials of Osiris mode, and thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.
Guardian down.
Enemy team eliminated. Weapons down, Guardians. This fight's over.